The long-awaited Wahoo KICKR climb has finally arrived here in the Llama Lab. Today we go through the unbox, the build, install and all the details you need to know to get up and down with the KICKR climb. First up, I'll put a few links below. The first link will be to my previous review or preview of the KICKR climb that I did over at Eurobike. This discusses the compatibility issues, especially with the rear pivoting dropouts. And I'll also link to RainMaker's, DCRainMaker's full deep dive as well. I know he has one of these units and it's always a good read. So those two links will be below. For now, let's get into it right here. Always my favorite part of the day, unboxing and installation of something brand new. Okay, let's get into the box. Alrighty. Okay, inside the box, what we have is the power cable, the climb itself, and what appears to be all the required adapters for whichever front wheel mount you're using. So I'm a standard road bike with a quick release. There's also through axle support there, straight out of the box. Okay, let's get into all of this. Okay, standard quick release, which is what I'll be using for this bike here. We have all the required power cables, awesome. We have the Aussie one. Okay. We have the instruction manual. And the unit itself. Okay, well, I missed this one. Here's the power pack. That's a pretty beefy power pack actually. That's got some weight behind it. Always the best part. Okay, so power pack. As I said before, all the wheel adapters there. I'm gonna go for, there's nothing on here, so we'll go for the road one for now. We'll put that aside for what I'll need. And the unit itself. Okay, please read before removing this label. Okay, let's read this label just to be sure. Okay, important, please read before removing this label. Avoid frame damage. KICKR climb is designed to use only with the KICKR and KICKR Snap trainers. The compatible KICKR and KICKR Snap trainers. Check front brake and floor clearance. Okay, cool. So there's an important little taggy. So I have included that one, nothing on the back. Okay. Now, if this doesn't look like a gun, I think they should have written flamethrower on the side there and gone a little bit Elon Musk, but definitely something out of a computer game. Okay, does it stand by itself? It does. That's pretty good. Okay, so side by side not, but forward, it stands by itself. So it's a bit like one of these punching bags, but for very short people. Okay, enough of the fun. We'll put this aside, but actually we'll take all these out just to show the entire contents of the kit. So all the contents of the package here, we have the KICKR climb unit itself, the power brick, all the required adapters depending on your front wheel mount, power plugs, quick release, oh, and the manual comes in the box as well. Okay, this is an important installation and I've never done this before, so I will read the manual. Just bear with me for one moment. Actually, it's quite a comprehensive manual too. So all the install instructions are here. First page, contents, details, etc. What's inside the box. So page 3 goes through the installation of your quick release adapters, whichever is required, and mounting it on the bike. It's all pretty straightforward. And there we go, okay. And how to level the KICKR Climb, how to plug it all in. We'll go through all these very shortly. Okay, so installation on a standard road bike here, 700C wheel with a standard quick release adapters. We'll get those installed. We'll put the other ones aside for now. Okay. Done, quick release installed. Pretty straightforward. Power pack. And we'll just power the unit up for a start. Whoa. Going up, going down. Does have a bit of noise to the unit as well. I'm keen to see if there's still the same noise when we put all the weight on top with the bike. But here we are, we're unpacked, we're built for the road bike, and we're pretty stable. That's looking pretty good. Okay, weight of the unit itself, it's got a few kilos to that. It's probably 7 or 8 kilos, I'd think. Pretty stable as well though. Now, as I've mentioned in my video that I've done over in Eurobike with this is not the same as having a locked in front wheel mount, which can do damage to your bike if you're sprinting or pulling up on it, because there's a full range of movement with this. So the 3 contact points are identical to what you have here on a road bike. So the fork goes into here, so the 2 contact points there, and the ground. So the same as what you've got here. It's a bit of give, a bit of play, identical here. And the pull up as well, I mean, it's a few kilos to that, but if you're sprinting and pulling up, it's not going to be putting too much pressure on these front fork mounts. And that's all looking pretty good. Okay, double clicking the middle button on the remote here will level the unit off. So it should then, by doing this, reset itself to about 34 centimeters within 5 mil of where the back axle height is. So good enough for me. Okay, let's get this unit on, paired up. Let's have a chat about the configuration process. First things first, we won't need the front wheel mount anymore, or the front wheel. So that comes off. Okay, that's a bit awkward to... It wants to fall forward, but I want to push it back. Okay, so... Okay, now we're in. Let's get this locked into place. And there is a method of placing it in the right spot. I'll show you that just now. So once that's tight enough, what you need to do is lift your front bike up, let it swing around freely and straight down. There you go. There's the optimal position for the KICKR Climb. The pairing process for the KICKR Climb isn't like a standard peripheral like a heart rate monitor or a cadence sensor or power meter. It pairs directly using proximity from the unit itself to a compatible trainer. So in this instance here, it's the KICKR 17 that I have. What this means is third-party control such as Zwift or the software used on a computer, a tablet, an iPhone or an Android device, or even something like the Element Bolted, they don't even need to know about the KICKR Climb itself. They just need to talk to the trainer, and these two do the rest themselves. That's pretty neat. Over to the pairing process. What we have here is the remote, and what we need to do is press and hold the middle button until it flashes. Once the center light is solid, we know we're paired to my KICKR unit here. The Climb has 2 modes of operation, locked and unlocked. When the unit is locked, it is fully controlled by you with the remote here. Let me install the remote on the front of the bars here. The lights on the remote indicate what mode the unit is in, so either locked or unlocked. That can be changed by pressing the button on the remote. When in unlocked mode, that means it can be controlled by a third party, such as your software or something like your head unit. And in locked mode, you're in full control yourself. The unit also fails back to locked mode if you ever use the remote when it's in unlocked mode. So let's say you're riding along in Zwift, then you want to change the gradient. It then remains in locked mode until you switch it back. It's a bit of a fail-safe, I guess. So if you're telling the unit what to do, it stays doing what you want it to do. The Climb unit does have a few configuration options that you can set. The way this is done is via the Wahoo Fitness app on your mobile once it's paired to your trainer. So it's as simple as opening up the app itself, opening up the profile of your trainer, and from there you can set two options. Firstly, axle height. So if I was to set this to mountain bike or 29er, that changes the axle height on the back. That'll change the default axle height here on the front as well. And also wheelbase. So if you're a tall rider, the angle that the bike will move based on the gradient does change. Or if you're a smaller rider, you'll have a smaller wheelbase and it will change the angle as the gradient goes up and down as well. So they're the two configuration options, plus firmware updates will be available via the Wahoo Fitness app once this is released. Over to a bit of fun science for the afternoon. What we'll do, we'll check the angle of gradient of the range of motion that it has on the KICKR Climb here. Now, angle of gradient is different to percentage grade. We'll go through the mathematics of that in a sec, but what we've got, we can zero that out and we'll go through the full range of motion. So all the way up, we have 11 degrees, all the way down, we have -5 degrees, double clicking the center, back to 0. Doing the quick math on the angles that we saw there, 11 degrees angle gives us 19.44% gradient, that's very close to 20% max, and -5 degrees angle gives us -8.75 degrees of angle. So that's well within spec, good to see. So that wraps up the unboxing, the build and installation, the pairing, the configuration, the modes it can go in, a bit of backyard science with the angles. It's time to now jump on and ride. Okay, let's get up and go. Over to the pairing screen here on Zwift, hooking up my heart rate. All that you need to pair is the controllable trainer to the KICKR. Power source can be anything at all. So as long as the controllable trainer is your KICKR, you get the full experience of the KICKR Climb. Just setting up the cadence sensor there. And away we go. This section of the video is a little long, but I wanted to show you what the full experience was about on all different terrains within Zwift. So just during general riding there, the first few meters, I can't actually hear it go up and down. That's a good thing. Very small increments that it's doing, so I can't hear the sound. The gear changes are much louder. Okay, here's where I head out to what's called the S's. Now this section dips down and dips straight back up and is a really good test of how quickly a trainer will change resistance, or in this case, the climb will change elevation. So we dip down here and up there. There is a little bit of lag there. So still early days in their firmware for both the KICKR Climb and also the Zwift integration, so I expect that to be a little better. I suspect the next firmware update should rectify that little lag situation there. Okay, spinning the legs out to, well, the radio tower KOM, the steepest section on Zwift. Okay, through this section here, I've included both an up-close shot of the climb itself, plus the full body shot of me and the climb. and the terrain I'm on Zwift with. Now there's a few quick rollers here that I go through. You see in the top right hand corner there the percent gradient, and the two windows there on the left will show you the climb and how it reacts. So after this section here, I did hit the epically steep KOM radio tower. No apologies for my taste in music, but I will have to keep it short or YouTube will ping me for copyright. 12% up, yes it was 12%. And coming down as well, you can see the handlebars there a lot lower. Going for the aero tuck just for effect. Happy days, all working as planned. A good hour there spent on Zwift on all kinds of terrain, especially the steep stuff. So the ride itself, it felt pretty much, well, I didn't really know it was there for a lot of the time because it was going up and down just as you expect a bike would do. So I guess it's one of those things where if you take it away, you'll want it back, or if you don't have it, you'll never know. So I guess if you try one, you probably want to keep it. So my experience was riding along, I couldn't really tell it going up and down until I looked at the desk in front of me, and then I saw the handlebars a little higher, a little lower. Until you got to the real steep stuff, that's when it really kicked in. But I guess it was more of a subconscious reminder that something was happening or something was changing in game, whether you're going up or down. When we first started with interactive smart trainers, we had that experience as soon as we hit the first climb, bang, the resistance kicked in and we taught ourselves, oh, this is a climb, this is what a climb feels like. But the bike was still like that. So now it's a lot more natural. You hit a climb and the bike will come up. So people trying this for the first time, this is a premium product, but if you were to try the premium product for the first time with a smart trainer, interactive smart trainer with a climb, it'd feel more like riding a bike for what you're seeing on screen. So that was pretty cool. As mentioned, that 2-second lag did take away from a bit of the immersion in the S's in Zwift, where it dips down and dips straight back up. Having the trainer kick back up or having the climb kick up a little later than what I was seeing on screen didn't really do it for me. I'm hoping the next few iterations or versions of the firmware for both the KICKR Climb, the KICKR, and Zwift itself can cram that right down. Stay tuned, we'll be across those when they're released. A few other things I have on my list here. Power consumption. Now, when plugged in and not in use, this uses less than 1 watt, but when it's in use, I did want to check this, it uses a little bit more power than what I thought. The power pack for the KICKR Climb is quite beefy. Here's the original KICKR. It actually is twice as big. This is a 24 volt, 10 amp. This is 12 and 5. So twice as big, but the safety catch on that is you can't actually fry your KICKR with your KICKR Climb power supply because they have different end plugs, and I did try plug that into the KICKR. It's not going to happen. So you can't fry your KICKR with the KICKR Climb power. Something I noticed early on was the sound of the thing. That was quite noisy going fully up and fully down. It had a bit of an echo in this room, but when it was actually in use, as you saw in the video before, you could hardly hear it. It just had a small hum making those small gradient changes. And very rarely in game, or whatever software you're using, will it go from fully up to fully down. It'll slowly increment, so that's a lot quieter when it's just during normal operation. So noise, not an issue. Availability, the best I can get out of Wahoo at the moment is Q2, so soon. That's the best we can do. Keep an eye on this. I'll update a pinned post where we know the exact shipping date. Pre-orders are already around. Speaking of pre-orders, the price has gone up a little bit from what we saw initially in the initial announcement. So the prices from what I can find at the moment, US $5.99, Euro $4.99, Aussie dollars $7.99, and pounds $4.99. So price aside, value aside, is this something you would use all the time? As I said before, if you've had one, you won't want it taken away. And if you don't have one, you probably won't miss it. But for me, I quite like it. It really embedded that experience of what was happening on screen rather than just, well, as I said, we've taught ourselves that more resistance means we're going up a hill on Zwift and less resistance means we're going down a hill. Now we actually get that gradient change. So more immersiveness, more virtual reality. I'm into it. I quite like it. I do need a lot more time on it during racing, during training, erg mode. How is this thing going to handle erg mode? Also control with the element bolt, and maybe we'll put a rocker plate under it as well so we get that axis and that axis. Okay, we'll leave it there for today. It's been a long video. Thank you for your attention and hanging around this long if you've gotten to this point. As mentioned, there'll be some links below so you can continue on your research if you're looking at buying one of these. And as always, hit like, subscribe, and hang around. We'll cover more tech for you to have a better experience indoors and out. Thanks for watching.